About some of the people arrested in a series of local ICE crackdowns that started back in May. 196 undocumented immigrants were rounded up.
You walk into a Costco on a Sunday morning expecting to buy groceries, not to witness one of the most tightly executed immigration enforcement operations in recent U.S. history. No leaks, no chaos, no warning, just calm precision. In Nashville, Tennessee, 196 undocumented immigrants were detained in a surprise ICE operation that has reignited the national debate over immigration enforcement. Critics say it went too far, but here's the truth: it was long overdue. This wasn't a reckless sweep. It was a lawful, well-planned, and data-driven mission to restore accountability in a city where illegal labor has quietly thrived for years. And today, we're diving into exactly how it happened and why it matters. Stick around until...
Okay, so this is a video of ICE raids in Nashville, Tennessee, focusing on Costco.
Stick around until the end, because this isn't just about Nashville. It's about America's right to uphold its laws. If you're tired of double standards and believe law enforcement deserves support, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Let's get into it. It began like any other day in Nashville's Antioch neighborhood. The Costco parking lot was buzzing with shoppers, kids, and Sunday errands. But by mid-morning, that all changed. ICE agents, backed by Tennessee Highway Patrol, swiftly surrounded the building. The entrances were blocked, and inside, agents moved methodically, asking for identification and confirming names against a list built over months of quiet surveillance. The result? 196 individuals detained, each one flagged for violating federal immigration law. There was no violence, no confusion, just order. And for once, a city that had grown accustomed to looking the other way was forced to reckon with what law enforcement looks like when it's allowed to do its job. What many saw as a sudden crackdown was actually a masterclass in intelligence-led enforcement. Nashville wasn't ambushed. It was overdue for accountability. The operation wasn't random. Nashville had become a growing concern within federal enforcement circles. Over the past year, reports of document fraud, illegal employment practices, and even ties to trafficking networks had steadily increased. ICE didn't rely on rumors. They followed the data. Through months of surveillance and coordination with local partners, agents identified specific...
See, I'm glad they emphasize this for ICE. The ICE is doing research prior to having an ICE raid.
Specific individuals and patterns tied to immigration violations. Antioch, and particularly that Costco location, stood out. It had quietly become a hotspot for illegal employment activity, shielded by political inaction and community resistance to enforcement. Critics love to talk about random raids, but what do you say when federal agents show up with data, warrants, and a plan? That's not intimidation. That's justice. Unlike the chaotic images often portrayed in the media, this raid was surgical. No shouting, no scuffles, just calm professionalism. ICE agents had a specific list of targets: people who had been previously flagged for visa overstays, fraudulent documents, or deportation orders. Backed by the Tennessee Highway Patrol, they secured the location, verified identities using mobile biometrics, and ensured the operation was completed without incident. By the time the first reporters arrived, the buses were already in motion. This wasn't a political stunt. It was law enforcement at its finest, silent, focused, and legal. While some cities cry foul over enforcement, others understand one simple truth: if you don't apply the law equally, you don't have a country. The moment word got out, headlines exploded. Families torn apart. ICE ambushes Costco. Community in fear. But behind the noise was a very different reality. Of the 196 people detained, many had outstanding deportation orders. Several were previously convicted criminals. Others were using forged documents to secure employment. And not a single person was detained without probable cause or warrant validation. Still, critics rushed to condemn the action. Advocacy groups protested outside the Costco. Some claimed ICE was militarizing immigration policy. But what they failed to acknowledge was this: no one is above the law. If we allow emotional narratives to override legal enforcement, then we invite chaos, and that's not compassion, that's surrender. Tennessee is not a sanctuary state, and that distinction matters. The Tennessee Highway Patrol didn't just stand by, they actively supported the operation. Their coordination helped ICE agents move in quickly and without interference. Governor Bill Lee publicly commended the effort, stating that Tennessee has a duty to uphold the rule of law and calling the operation a model for what responsible immigration enforcement should look like. Local sheriffs, while under political pressure, largely supported the raid. And residents, especially those concerned about illegal labor and crime, felt reassured. In a time when so many leaders bend to political winds, Tennessee stood tall, and Nashville saw what leadership backed by resolve really looks like. Let's break the numbers down. According to ICE reports, the individuals detained included 41 with prior criminal records, 17 who had previously been deported but illegally re-entered, 23 flagged for document fraud or identity theft. The remainder had overstayed visas or were unlawfully present without proper documentation. This wasn't a sweep of innocent bystanders. This was targeted enforcement of individuals already on the radar for violating immigration laws. Advocacy groups attempted to paint the picture of good families being destroyed. But what about the families exploited by illegal labor practices? What about the businesses pressured to hire under the table? What about the legal immigrants who follow the rules? Enforcing the law doesn't make you a villain, it makes you a country. And those who defend this kind of precision should never be ashamed to say so. Let's face it, part of the reason this raid was so impactful is because it shocked people. That's not a bad thing. It's called deterrence. For too long, undocumented individuals have lived under the belief that cities like Nashville were safe zones, places where they could remain indefinitely without consequence. This operation sent a clear signal. That era is ending. Deterrence isn't cruelty, it's policy that works. When people know that enforcement is real, they think twice before violating the law. That's how order is restored. You don't need fear to control people, you need clarity. And nothing speaks louder than seeing the law finally enforced. What happened in Nashville wasn't just a regional enforcement action, it was a blueprint. Quiet planning, data-based targeting, seamless coordination between state and federal agencies, and a community kept safe without chaos. As the national debate over immigration continues, operations.
So why can't we have this in every state, especially California?
This show what can be achieved when politics are set aside and law takes the lead. It also reignites a larger conversation. If ICE can do this in Nashville, where else might similar efforts be needed? How many cities have turned a blind eye to growing populations of undocumented individuals working illegally, committing fraud, or slipping through enforcement cracks? One Costco, one city, one operation, and yet it just might be the wake-up call America needed. The Nashville ICE operation wasn't about hate, it wasn't about fear, it was about accountability. 196 people were detained, not because of who they were, but because of what they did. They broke the law, and for once, the law responded. That's what justice looks like. That's what enforcement means. In a time when law and order are constantly questioned, it's refreshing to see an agency like ICE do its job quietly, professionally, and effectively. This wasn't chaos. This was control. This was clarity. If you believe that immigration should be legal, not optional. If you believe.
So again, family, this is something that we need to constantly talk about. The mainstream media will not cover ICE arrests in the proper way. It's always referred to as cruel, inhumane, but in actuality, the ICE raids are to keep America safe. So I'm really not sure why the mainstream media doesn't want to look at reality. ICE raids are not random attacks. They are targeted operations designed to enforce immigration law, protect American workers, and keep our community safe. Supporting ICE raids is about supporting the rule of law, plain and simple. So again, family, let's get this discussion going in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about the ICE raids and what is happening. And again, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to receive immediate updates again. Always remain curious and stay bold. Family, I'll see you in the next video. Have a good evening.